Hello, everybody, and welcome to Athletic Definition. My name is Coach Ray Z, and today my guest is Dillon. Welcome, Dillon. You have to tap on the monkey to unmute.
Hello, Coach Ray. Thanks for inviting me onto your platform. It's good to be
No,
here.
thank you for coming. Welcome to Fireside. I'm just kind of sending out notifications. So, since you're new, if you wanted to, you can share it. There's two little lines on the very bottom, and then you'll see share to the world or broadcast the world. You can send a link or Facebook, Twitter. That's just what I finished doing. And then people can join in and they don't even have to download the app. They could just listen in.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
And then as the show goes on, you'll see people come in and out of the show as well. So thank you for being here. Definitely appreciate it. I met you through the running community. I'm a huge runner. I've ran over 50 marathons, but I've never, growing up, I was a knucklehead. So in school, I didn't get good grades. I didn't think about scholarships or anything like that. And so to hear your story to me is amazing. And it's really hard to, be a pro runner because we don't really have too many opportunities. Like after you go to Olympics, I mean, what is there for us? There's not too much. So uh, I read your profile and I definitely wanted you to come on here and share your story. And then everything else, your bio is just amazing. So I think to get started, it's always easier in the very beginning. Were you always into running as a little kid, or?
yeah. Thank you for sharing your story as well, and kind of filling me in on that. I know, yeah, we've been in part in Clubhouse before and got to hear each other talk. But as for me, yes, I started running at a pretty young age. Here, growing up on the reservation, Zia Pueblo Indian Reservation. I mean, it's a very small community, and running has always been part of our tradition since time immemorial. So elders always told us to wake up in the morning and go for a run, and that was our way of prayer as well and healing. Kind of being out there in early mornings, watching the sunrise. So I started doing that. Yeah, as soon as I could kind of be on my own, out running, and just enjoyed it. My competitiveness started to slowly come in later on in my years. But I always enjoyed running at a very young age, and my mom was also a runner, so I kind of continued that on for in our family, but also it's in our culture. So yeah.
That's great. That's a great and beautiful. I've never heard that. And did they go out running with you as well, or did they go running the elders?
So there's certain times in our traditional calendar where everybody is participating in the run, as far as prayer and ceremony. So elders, the whole village is participating and cheering each other on, and kind of, yeah, all enjoying a run together. But it's also for ceremony. Um, but on my days where I would just go out and run on my own, sometimes, yeah, my family would be present and kind of make sure that I was okay, especially when I was younger. But as I grew older, I went out on my own early morning. I don't know, a couple miles before I went to school, and then I was also in sports in school, so I would go to practice right after as well. So running in the morning and in the evening were kind of my thing there.
And did you do any other sports besides running in school, or it was pretty much running?
Um, well, I went to school on the reservation as a Zia Day school. Is what it was called. When I was into basketball, my dad got me into basketball at a very young age. I think I was in third grade. Started dribbling, shooting, um, and that was my first passion, was actually basketball. Watching Lakers, watching old videos of Michael Jordan, and that was something that I aspired to become, was an NBA player. But for some reason, I don't know, running just really captivated a different side of myself where it was just pure enjoyment, and that competitiveness, like I said, just came in as I got older. I think when I really had a really good taste of competition was when I was in fifth grade. Um, it was a race that I had run, and I had just barely gotten beaten by like, I don't know, 2 or 3 seconds. And it was a mile race, and I told my mom after I finished, is I'm never gonna let anybody beat me again. And all the competitions that I ran after that, I won. So that was like kind of my competition phase where it really I started motivating me more. But I got really competitive in high school, and that's when I decided that I wanted to go off to college and compete at the collegiate level and pursue a professional running career post college.
Now, did you get offered scholarships, or did you just go on to college on your own and then like as a walk on?
I pretty much went on as a walk on. The funny story about this is that um, so I kind of got myself out there when I started participating with Wings of America. It's a nonprofit here in New Mexico that helps Indigenous athletes kind of have a higher experience with athletics, and not only that, but with health and wellness, improving health and wellness in our communities. But they sponsor a group of runners throughout Indian country, some of the top native runners throughout Indian country to run at the USA cross country junior championships. And I believe my junior year it was in San Diego, and I competed there. And then my senior year, I competed in Durwood, Maryland, which is when I had the opportunity to meet my future coach, Mark Whitmore from the University of Colorado. And he told me to be in contact with him post race. And I emailed him pretty much almost, I always say every month. It's probably a lot more frequent than that, but just kind of checking in and letting him know how I'm doing. And I did get injured my senior year, but I kept on it, and I was very adamant about telling him that I wanted to pursue my education at CU. And he talked to some of the other coaches, and they felt like there was a top level runner inside of me, and they reserved me a spot on the team, and got up there and showed them what I could do. So that was kind of my journey to getting into Division One.
And then you also mentioned going to school on the reservation. Was that high school as well?
No, it was up to middle school. I went to high school in Albuquerque, Sandia Preparatory School. Um, my parents, it is a private school. It's tuition based. I'm very grateful that my parents made the sacrifice to send me to that school, because you have to pay for it, and coming off a reservation, we don't have too many. There's a lot of challenges that we face and not many resources. So they sacrificed and sent me to that school for my education, and that also helped me get other scholarships to pay for school. So
Yeah, that was kind of my question because I figured if you go to maybe a school that's in the reservation, that maybe less recruiters were going there, and maybe that's why you didn't get offered a scholarship. So that was my reason for that.
well, I did get offered a few scholarships from some of the smaller schools, but also the hard thing that I've had to deal with, kind of like right after I graduated, was knowing the fact that my athletic director at the time did not inform me of people who were pursuing me for recruiting. And when I found that out, it was very uh, I don't know. I was really hurt about it, knowing that I didn't have that guidance or somebody to look out for me. In respects to that, like that was other opportunities that I could have had. But I am still grateful for where I ended up, and I had a great experience at the University of Colorado. So,
And then you mentioned injury. What type of injury did you abstain?
so after college, I took off a good 8 months from running, just to kind of heal from all the high intensity training, mentally, physically, emotionally. It's a lot of effort to put into. And I started training again soon after. And I think I really pushed myself hard to get back to where I was instead of being patient. And I think that caused a lot of muscle issues, and just a lot of strain, which then caused some nerve impingement. I'm thinking it's either my hip flexor area or my glute. It's just something where my nerve gets trapped and causes some pain, and my leg just gets heavy and starts burning, and I can't run at a high intensity as I used to.
And when did that start? You said your senior year.
It happened actually after college. When I was so after college, I was kind of recruited by Scott Simmons out of the American Distance Project in Colorado Springs to run professionally. So it was during my time. This was in 2015. So a couple years back, I got into Colorado Springs, started training with the group, and was making really good improvement in my fitness, and was gearing up for the Olympic trials following year, upcoming year 2016. Training was going really well, and I had did a shakeout type of race to kind of get the cobwebs out, and I ran up a hill, and about halfway up, my leg just kind of gave out, and I thought it was a muscle strain at first, and so I treated it that way. I went to PT and whatnot, but it just kept lingering and lingering, and eventually it got worse. And that happened in I think October of 2015, and I also raced a half marathon during that time, which I ended up missing the Olympic trials time by a minute because of the injury.
Wow, that's tough. And I definitely want to get to there, but I just want to rewind a little bit because kind of skipped over the college. I know so many runners that they run for fun. They run their half marathons or marathons or 5Ks, and it's fun. But none of them really had the opportunity to run in college. And that's kind of like a dream come true for a lot of people. So for the people that didn't get that experience, how was it running for college? How much training, how much studying, how much fun did you have?
So, the journey to getting to CU was probably the hardest. I mean, I woke up day and night. I mean, early mornings, 5 o'clock, my parents would follow me in the vehicle um, early morning to make sure that I was getting in my training, because everything started for me pretty much during high school. Like, I worked hard to get to CU, and I mean, I did reap the benefits after and having that experience at CU, but mainly my journey started like all the blood, sweat, and tears before college, but also it did lead into college as well. But um, yeah, the experience in college after the fact, I mean, I was very grateful. I remember getting my gear for the first time and going back to my dorm and just like looking at it and got really emotional. Like, this is everything that I've worked for. It's finally in my hands, and to put it on and look at myself in the mirror to see Colorado written across, it was just one of the most emotional and rewarding times in my life. I mean, being a young man at that time, I think it was like 18 years old, and knowing that nobody else in my community has gotten to this level was also something that I was very proud of. But I mean, for me, I also try to motivate others to reach those levels, or and if not higher. So the experience in running in Colorado was a success for me. I made a lot of friends, bonds that will last a lifetime, and the races themselves. I mean, one of my most memorable races was probably our conference championship in 2013, which was held. We hosted, and that was my senior year, and there was close to 5,000 people on this cross country course. And the funny thing about it, it's like it was European style, so it was 2K loops. So it was just nonstop yelling and cheering on, and it was just so much energy. And that last kilometer, I could even hear myself breathing. It was just like right in your ear. And I just remember like kind of crossing through the finish, and I don't remember what happened after that. It was a pretty great experience at that time.
That sounds like definitely a great experience, and being 18 and having like your dream come true. That at least at that point, that's awesome to hear. I love to hear people that like hit their pinnacle of what they want to achieve, and then you got a little hurt. And when you mentioned pro runner, like since there's not really as far as I'm aware, pro runners, there's not. Does that mean that like you're just paid to train and you get paid to run the whole time and that's all you have to worry about, or is there more to it?
So I mean, it's nice to just see a pro runner on there, but yeah, there's a lot to work towards actually getting the incentives. The contract, the shoes, the gear. That's it's a lot of work. I mean, you have to be at a certain level or hit certain times in order to get those things. And it's not easy because there's so many top level runners in this country and in states that that sometimes you don't hear about him in college until after, and it's like, well, where did this person come from? So it's a constant competition, and you're fighting for everything, anything that you can get at that point, and it's tough. I mean, and then there's guys that are beyond certain levels. Like, I mean, you look at Galen Rupp, he's been up there for so many years, and ever since high school, and he is where he's at now, but not many people can get to that level. And for me, it was definitely hard. I didn't really get a lot of those incentives because of my injury. I mean, I didn't have that opportunity to continue to work. As soon as that happened, it just kind of spiraled down, and still on demand right now of getting back to 100% health. Um, but yeah, there's so much that goes into trying to become a professional athlete. You gotta be mentally prepared and emotionally prepared, because when injury strikes, that's where the emotional preparedness comes in as well as mental. Um, that you don't spiral out of it, and make sure that you're looking after yourself in the best possible way so that you can heal quicker.
Yeah, I don't think that people that don't compete really understand when an athlete gets injured. Uh, I hear a lot of them go through depression, and you start. Will I ever get to compete again? Well, how long is this injury going to take? And there's a lot of self doubt, and injuries are they're never easy. And so, since you did get injured and you didn't get all those opportunities, you got to go to the White House, which is very cool. Was that because of what you did in college, or
Yeah. So yeah, speaking about that, yeah, I did get to go to the White House, met President Barack Obama at the time, and that was because in 2013 we won. Actually, yeah, 2013 we won the national NCAA championship as a team. So at that time they were inviting all national championship teams to the White House. So I had that opportunity of going. Um, and we toured the whole entire White House, and President Barack Obama came out and talked to everybody, and that was like one of the most interesting experiences I had at that time. I just remember getting there, and all my teammates were like talking up a storm about what they were going to ask him, what they were going to talk about, and as soon as he came into the room, everybody just freezes, like they didn't have nothing to say, and I was like, well, I'm here, and I started talking to him. We started dishing, and I was asking if I was a senior at the time. I said, "Yeah, I am," and what I was planning on pursuing after. And I said I wanted to become go into to medical school. So he was all for it and joked it up, and it was a lot of fun. But yeah, it just it was kind of funny that they all kind of got shocked and didn't say much after.
Well, that,
But
that is pretty funny. I want to say that, and then he comes in and everyone gets all shy. Was that your first time to the White House?
yeah, that was my first time in being in the White House. I have been in DC before, but the White House, yeah, that was my first time. Yeah, it was just like going in towards the into the airport and getting screened and everything like that. So yeah, a lot of security and some pretty thick windows, bulletproof windows.
And for your family, was that a proud moment for them? Like that you get to go to the White House and meet the president?
Yeah, I think they're in shock. They didn't really know how to express it. I was kind of in shock too, but I was also excited. And the one thing that always hangs inside our house is there's a group picture of the cross country team and President Barack Obama right in the middle. So that's um, put up in the house in Zia. So everybody looks at that and is very happy of that moment, that I had the opportunity to do that. So yeah,
And then
they got proud.
you mentioned medical. So the whole time you were basically running. So you were a student athlete pursuing your doctorate.
So at that time, I was pursuing a degree, what is called integrative physiology, which is the same thing as kinesiology. Um, and at that time, yeah, I was just pretty much taking prerequisites, and wanted to actually become a physical therapist for a while there. But I also wanted to become a history teacher because I have dual degrees in history and physical integrative physiology. So I kind of, after college, I don't know exactly what happened in my mindset, but I kind of started focusing more on the running aspect, and kind of shifted my focus from my education to my running, which, looking back at it, was probably not so good. Just because I could have probably been in a little bit better position now, but um, I mean, I went the route that I went, and still pretty happy, and making my progress in becoming a medical, going into medical school. Um, Kind of went off track there. It's kind of a long story, but actually, right currently now, I am pursuing medical school. I'm just about done, and hopefully, my admissions, once I'm completed, I will be accepted. So I'm very hopeful.
I definitely hope you make it, and I'll be rooting for you. Now, did when the whole medical part, um, like when you were going to school, I know you, was it because of your injuries that you were interested in that, or is it just a lot of us, when we get hurt, that's when we kind of start deep diving into, well, what can I do to fix myself? And then a little interest peaks. For me, that's what kind of happened with my certifications. I didn't get them to help people. I got them for myself. And then later on, I want to help people.
No, I mean, I that actually did hit my mind. I started diagnosing myself and looking into all the research of like what possibilities could cause my injury. So that pretty much, kind of motivated me more. But also, not only did that motivate me, is that, after I moved back from Colorado Springs to New Mexico in 2017, I had to take some time off to kind of recoup because of what you're saying with injury. Uh, Depression can occur, and I can get into that later. But yeah, I came back, kind of wanted to dive back into my roots of my growth growing up and my culture. And in 2019, I met my wife, and she was the one that kind of opened my eyes up a lot more about what becoming a doctor could do for my community and Indian country. So one of my main goals is not only to help the indigenous communities, but also advocate on a federal level for better healthcare. So that's my reasons of pursuing this educational route. Um, is to, in what ways can I be better at assisting my relatives across Indian country.
And so then, if I'm understanding correctly, you live in New Mexico now, and so your plan is to get your doctrine to live on the reservation and help your community there. When
Yes.
I'm no expert in it, but what I've heard is a lot of times when you get the degree, you don't usually go back to where you originated from, and that goes anywhere pretty much. But you go somewhere else because now you have a degree. So what for you, what's the motivation or what's the drive to go back there?
I mean, I'm still here. I've always home has always been here. Like I said, I grew up. I'm a very traditional and practicing Native American man from Zia Pueblo. I my grandfather holds a lot of weight on traditional and culture, and my father as well, and they kind of rooted all that into me. And so ever since I was a little kid growing up, I mean, I've always participated in ceremony and know what that experience feels like, and how we always come together as a community during those times. So to have that type of experience and support when something needs to be accomplished always brings me home. You know, I know that, like what you're talking about, sometimes not many people will go back to where they grew up, and I do see that still too in the communities. Just because there could be some type of some of these places where you grow up are like very toxic. Not people wishing you well. But for me, I'm always gonna be that point person to help move my community forward, because there's, like I said, there's a lot of challenges that we face, and if I can provide any type of assistance, I'm gonna do so. And currently right now I am a fellow at the National Congress of American Indians, which is working in the government relations department, and providing policy, and then talking about policy at a federal level. So I'm trying to put in that work, and become the leader that I can, because in the future I will become a governor of my community. So I need to be able to do so, and be educated with everything that kind of happens at that level as well.
And everything you're doing, you're setting the if it hasn't been done, you're setting the bar high, and you're doing a great job. From going to school, graduating, getting to go to the White House, meet the president, being a pro runner, working on becoming a doctor, to aspirations of governor, um, and growing up. Besides like your father and your family, was there anybody in like your community that you could like look up to and be like, hey, that person's doing something different. That's what I want to try to do. Did you have that type of like hero?
I'm actually really thinking hard about that. Um, Besides anybody in my family, it's the rates of people that succeed in our communities is very low, and that's a really good question, and that's something that I have thought about before, but I haven't really continued to think about what gave me the motivation to seek the opportunities that I'm seeking now. And to be honest, I can't really say um, anybody outside my family. I mean, yeah, actually, my mother was the one that kind of motivated me a lot more, because she was a single mom for a while. Um, She had me at a very young age, 18 years old. And I saw her continue to pursue her education and get a master's degree. And so that was somebody that I looked up to. But I can't really pinpoint anyone else inside my community that motivated me in that way. As far as cultural aspects of it, it was mainly my grandfather and my dad. Yeah.
Well, uh, I wanted to get into a little bit about the depression thing, and um, if it's something maybe you haven't thought about, that's something that I think you could use, because maybe you don't even realize, the type of a good role model you're being, and there's other kids watching within your community and others, and like I watch a lot of UFC, and there's a really good fighter right now from Brazil, Amanda Nunez,
Yeah.
and she's inspiring generations of little girls that we won't even see maybe till 10, 15 years, and they're going to be just like killers in a good way in the cage, because they saw somebody and they're like, oh, and that's what happened. So um, I've been injured plenty of times, and depression does hit. So tell us a little bit about your experience with depression, and what you do to get over it, or is it a daily thing? You still battle it?
Yeah. I mean, for when, yeah, thinking back about this, as kind of right after I got injured, probably a several months after, when I knew I couldn't, the frustration building up of not being able to run at a high intensity or a high level anymore. That's when it kind of really set in, and my leg always kind of messing with me. Um, I really did spiral out when I was in Colorado Springs before coming home. It was probably like the end of October of 2016, where like I did have a job, but I indulged in some activities that I'm not very proud of, because I didn't really have anybody to turn to at that time. And yeah, talking to friends was nice, but I was just very in a really dark place, not knowing like if I was ever going to be able to run at that level again. And I did seek as much help as I could, but the issues were like nobody really understood where I was coming from with my injury. There's always a positive and a negative on how to help somebody, and growing up where I grew up in my community, like there's always people think it's positive to continue to push somebody and motivate him to like, oh, be a man and continue, you'll work itself out. So that's what I constantly heard when I was injured, was to be a man, be strong, but it's like, how strong can I be before I break myself? And I kind of had that mentality at that time, and it really did mess me up. I i couldn't be that strong person anymore. It really broke me. And and I I, I, I drank a lot at that time, you know um and that was also hurting myself, my body, as an athlete, and I was just in a very dark place. And that's when I decided that I had to move home and try to find my roots here, in back going back to my community and practicing things that I used to do. But even when I got home, it wasn't a better situation. I still had the same issues. The worst thing that happened here was that there was a lot more negative influence, and where my mindset was already, with kind of like in the that I had given up, was that was I guess I could say, yeah, at that in my mindset at that time, it was like I didn't care anymore about myself, and I continued to do what I was doing. And at that time, I didn't think about how that might have been hurting other people too around me. So there was a lot of things that kind of uh, negative forces that were merging together. And and yeah, it took a lot to kind of get out of that. And I finally was able to find some, I guess, some green grass on the other side when I was chosen to become a traditional tribal official in my community, which with this type of role, I was able to learn more about my culture, things that you don't normally see every day and participate in, speaking my language more, um, and being a lead in ceremony, and that's what really kind of started grounding me. Like I have a whole community to move forward and to protect. And the only way I'm going to do that is if my mind and heart are clear and that I can lead with the best that I can and learn as much as I can. So, and this all took place in 2019. I was appointed traditional tribal official. I was third in command, um, out of 12 other individuals. So I had a lot of responsibility, and it's a position where I also had to teach some of my other brothers what to say in our language, why we're doing certain things that we're doing, and be that role model. So that really kind of helped shape um, my progress to becoming a lot healthier. And also at that time, just before that, I did seek out therapy. Um, but the individual that I had, I sought out several people actually at that time. But there was one individual in particular that really kind of showed me that health professionals are not really all that great for with dealing with Native Americans. I had saw this person and we're talking, kind of building that foundation. And what she told me was that you're just going to be another statistic of another Native American person dying of alcoholism. And I was like, she just straight out told me that. And I told her, you know what, to say something like that, you shouldn't be in the position that you are trying to give somebody that advice or guidance in healing. And I just left. I left the room, and I never kind of went back to seeking out a therapist, and that's one thing right now. What I'm doing with my work is to ensure that we have health professionals that understand Native American, the way our culture, how we think, so that we don't have to spend that time and effort educating how they can help us. So essentially, it's like right now we're paying to teach them so that they can help us. Um, so, and that's also one of the reasons why I want to go back in, or I am pursuing a medical degree. Is to be a better asset in that way as well. But I did actually find somebody that really helped me. They're a lot more culturally sensitive and understanding, and and I'm still slowly working through a lot of different things too. But it's definitely been beneficial, and for any other individual, I think sometimes it's necessary because there's a lot of emotions that are just kind of very deep down that we never really pay attention to or never resolved. Um, and so I think it's always important, especially in the communities that I grew up in. There's a lot of toxic masculinity, and there's ways to kind of help heal that. So that's kind of my journey on where I'm at now, kind of coming to this place, where I am with being a fellow and health policy advisor here in New Mexico to our Pueblo communities. So it's been a journey, and I'm still working on becoming a better person too, and being a lot more patient with myself, a lot more gentle with myself, so that I can better assist our people and be that leader that they need. strong and willing and open minded. Open heart.
Well, I definitely appreciate your honesty about the depression, and I know it'll definitely help someone out there listening. And you know, depression isn't something like, oh, it's just gone. We just got to keep working on it. Every day is a new day, and um,
Yeah.
it's when you were mentioning how you were kind of down until you received this opportunity. Sometimes it's really easy to just kind of focus on what we don't have, and then you get this one little opportunity, and it could just change your whole perspective. And I'm glad that helped you out, and that you're so wanting to give it back to your community, and that's what makes it even more special. And I know you're dealing through your injury, but do you still have hopes of running again, like full strength and everything else?
Yeah, I still have hopes. I mean, I didn't give up on that goal. I definitely want to compete at a high level again. And like I said, I'm a lot more gentle with myself and a lot more patient. And there may be at times that certain things might be a little bit triggering, but I mean, going through the process of healing has helped me kind of control those triggers and figure out why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. I mean, that might cause going back into that depression spell again. But no, definitely want to continue um, pursuing a professional running career. I mean, I still want to either compete in the 10,000-meter final or the marathon at the Olympic Games. I at certain points in my previous training, I was getting really fit, so I'm not gonna shy away from that. I'm gonna take my time, and some of the best athletes don't mature until they're in their late 30s. So I got some time.
Yes, I actually had a triple jumper on my third show, Ol, and he got injured, and he was supposed to be in Tokyo, and now the Olympics are really just 3 years away because technically they're the 2020 Olympics, and
Yeah.
so I hope you make it. And you were only a minute away. You were saying from the half, a minute away
Yeah.
from.
So yeah, I was a minute away from getting the B standard. That's the only qualifying mark is the B standard in the half. I think it's like 65 under 65 minutes. Yeah, I think it might
Wow.
have changed recently, but I had run 66. And yeah, I was on pace actually through 9 8 miles. I think I was running like 450s, and that last 5 miles or so, my leg just really started giving out, and I started running mid 530s. I mean, yeah, mid 530s, and yeah, pretty much ran through the finish line in disappointment, and I wasn't tired anymore. It was like, what was this all for? But yeah, it was something that it's tough to think back on, though. But you
Four
know,
fifties. So what's your fastest, or what was your fastest mile you've been able to do?
so I never really been like a miler, but I did run a 1500 in Fort Collins. It was, I think, believe 401, which
Wow.
converts to like 350 something at sea level. And then if you do the whole conversion process, I think it's like a sub 410-minute mile, which is decent but not great, especially at the levels that I'm trying to be at. But I mean, it's pretty fast for the communities that I mean, coming up in my community. But yeah, to run that pace and for that many miles it was a good feeling. I never run that long at that pace before, even in college. I think the closest I got was on the track for 10,000 meters. But yeah.
Yeah, tracks nowadays, especially, they have like, I don't know what it is, like a memory foam, but I can definitely go way faster on a track than I can on running on the street.
Yeah.
And so I know you're working towards being a doctor, and you have the aspirations of governor, and looking to come back. What else do you have planned in the future? What else are you working on?
Right now, I also have my consultancy, the Native Runner. Kind of do a lot of workshops with different types of entities. I'm also a personal coach, um, and I'm just kind of out here trying to create that visibility for our Indigenous athletes,
Is your
and give.
coaching in person or online?
It's online right now. I was meeting in person for a while, and then I kind of I didn't I there's a lot of things that have happened over during COVID, which is another all more motivating for me to become a doctor. But yeah, I'm doing everything kind of more online. But when things kind of start settling down, I would like to be in person again. But yeah, I coach a different range of athletes. Those that are just starting out to those that are wanting to pursue a professional career or try to go off to college and run. Yeah, but so that's something that I'm also kind of I have going for myself. But a lot of my time and effort is spent right now in the fellowship that I am with the National Congress of American Indians. So I'm learning as much as I can with that and trying to put a little bit more energy into that right now, just to kind of develop my leadership skills and being that point person for my community in the near future. Um, but yeah, it pretty much stayed the same. Apply to get into medical school and pursue that route too as well. So I have a lot of things on my plate, but it's keeping me busy, and pretty pretty happy about that. So
Well, on here on Fireside, we have a little fortune cookie, and on the fortune cookie, you can put a little message. So I went ahead and put your Instagram on there if anybody wants to follow. It's the Native Runner. And um, do you have any sort of charities or anything you want to let us know about in case anyone's interested?
yeah, so there's a group called running as running as medicine. It's kind of overseen by the SLC air protectors, and every year they put on a prayer run that ends up in Bears Ears National Monument. So it's a good run to kind of look into. Running is medicine is the account on Instagram, but also if people wish to donate or learn more, SLC Air Protectors is also another handle that they go by. So that's another thing if people want to kind of help support. Also here in New Mexico, if anybody else wants to kind of look into Native youth and what we kind of do here is MB3, the Notable Gay Foundation. Um, is out of here in New Mexico, and also Wings of America. You can look into that, and they sponsor young athletes to have that experience of racing against collegiates, freshman collegiates, and that's how I kind of got my start. Um, so those three, I would say, and then also yeah, the Native Runner. Any way I can assist anyone that's listening, I'm happy to do so in different capacities. Yeah. Um, the other thing that I forgot to mention was that through Wings of America, I also was featured in the New York Times, which
Nice.
then eventually led to a documentary that I was featured in called Run to the East. So if you want to know a little bit more about my journey as a senior in high school, kind of leading into my college years, it's called Run to the East. It's by Moxie Pictures out of New York. It came out in, when was that? 20 2011, I believe. It won a couple awards as well. So at film festivals. So feel free to look into that, and you'll kind
Do
of.
you know if that's like on Netflix or
Oh,
Amazon?
it's on Vimeo. Vimeo.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You just type in and Run to the East, and yeah, it's like an hour and a half long. But it follows three. three native runners. One's myself and Pueblo, Zia Pueblo, and the other two are from Navajo Nation. So a little bit different, but yeah, it follows us three through our senior year, and you can kind of see how we where we grew up and the schools that we went to, the differences, and how we got to where we are now.
I've definitely got to check that out. I love documentaries. One thing I did kind of find fascinating that you mentioned is that your other degrees in history. Um, and then being a Native American, did you have a hard time dealing with some of the history that we're taught in school?
um, yes, and being very traditional, and what people may think of how we natives view the world. I've had dreams about certain things that kind of made me second guess on certain issues that we've had to overcome over the years, and one of the things was um, here in New Mexico we had a lot of experience with the Catholic Church and the genocide that we experienced, and that was something that was really hard for me to understand, because there are communities here in New Mexico that practice Catholicism, and and I'm respectful of anybody, but it was just kind of my journey at that time, to understand why I was feeling the way I was about what was going on, and hearing the stories about kids being raped, killed. And even now in Canada, I'm not too sure if you've seen on the news that they're finding bodies of children, um, leading over to 1,000 now near these boarding schools. So, and that's something that I kind of had to learn about more about why I was feeling the way I was about these things, and so I took a lot of history in regards to our past experiences, and every tribe is a little bit different. But also I was just kind of interested too in other aspects of also I took history for World War II. I was just very interested in that, but it was mainly to kind of figure out and deal with some certain things that I had on my mind at the time. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in school, like I said, I was a knucklehead. I wish I would have paid attention. Who knows what I could have done, but I don't regret it. Now I got into history, and you know, I s- since everyone's kind of being more open and honest and just talking about what's systematic and what isn't. I think it's 2021 and we don't even see the real maps of the countries. Like if you look at the map or go to any like Target or Walmart, you're gonna see that Mexico is smaller than Alaska. And you're gonna see the United States is bigger than Africa. And you're just gonna see all these things that's not the way the world is. And why are we still being shown this? Like it's 2021. And then when we get into history, that's another thing. So I found it fascinating that you got your degree on that, but it's always good to know about the past to avoid repeating it. And
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for being on the show today, Dylan. I knew you were going to be an interesting guest, just from what I got to know of you so far, and uh, definitely want to have you back on the show. I want to hear about you graduating, becoming a doctor, uh, going to the Olympics. So
Yeah.
I thank you. And if there's anything else you want to plug or mention, feel free to do so.
I don't know. There's so much stuff that I could talk about in my journey that I probably left a little bit out of. But no, I'm just grateful to be able to tell my story, as much as best as I could. And for those that are listening, thank you for coming in and listening to my story, and I'm hoping that you take something positive from it. Or negative. It doesn't matter. I'm just very happy that everyone is here to share this space and enjoy. So yeah, I'm just very thankful.
yes, thank you for the audience. Thank you for the people listening worldwide. And then for the people just support the podcast. And thank you once again, Dylan, for coming on here. This is Athletic Definition. I have a live show here every Thursday and Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time zone with different guests, just all about athletic, a variety. And as you can see, I bring on quality guests. So thank you once again for being here, Dylan. You have a great weekend, and I look forward to talking to you in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, looking forward to talking to you as well. Take care.